And I know, does Mr. Watford have some? Ma'am, okay. Mr. Watford, can you hear me? You're before the court for your first appearance. I'm going to appoint the Office of Public Defender to represent you. You've been waived up as a juvenile and raised up to adult court. You've been charged by direct information with one count of written threats to kill or do bodily harm, injury, writing, or electronic. That's a second-degree felony. It's punishable to 15 years in the Florida Department of Corrections and a $10,000 fine. Attempted arson of a dwelling. That's a second-degree felony, punishable to 15 years in the Florida Department of Corrections and a $15,000 fine. And one count of possession of a firearm by a minor. That's a first-degree misdemeanor, punishable to 1 year in the county jail and a $1,000 fine. And I believe Judge Mallory found there was probable cause for your arrest and issued the capias. You have some individuals in the courtroom. If you'll state your name, please.
Juvenile Watford, his guardian / sister.
Okay. Did you hear that, sir?
Sir.
All right, ma'am, if you'll just maybe speak a little louder and just speak in that mic or speak in this microphone right here.
Juvenile Watford, his sister / guardian.
Okay. And sir, are you here with? Okay. All right. Did you hear that, sir? Did your sister's present?
Yes, sir.
All right. And sir, where do you live at?
14 Palos Avenue.
Okay. And how long have you lived in Bay County?
Basically all my life, but we just moved back from Mariana.
Okay. And are you working or going to school?
Yes, sir. Going to school.
Where do you go to school?
Bay High School.
Okay. And prior record on Mr. Watford?
These are different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Your Honor. From 3 of 25 similar charges. One was arson.
Hey everybody, welcome to American Courts. We're starting off with Bay County. So on this one here, they're going over the guy's charges, and I wanted to bring up, they're talking about he's got similar charges from 3 of 25. And then second, it'll explain that it's the same charges. I went through the same thing whenever I was a kid. This guy here is 17, he's getting started early in life. But whenever I was a kid and I got in trouble, it was juvenile. Then they add the charges to adult, and it ends up duplicating the charges in Florida. I don't know if it does it in other states, but in Florida, it duplicates it. And he got caught up in that here. Luckily enough, the judge caught it, and they figured that one out. So we're going to go back to that one. We'll see how it goes.
And 2 was intimidation. And then 1 was
That's going to be the same charge.
it is it? They just got waived up.
Just when it got.
They just waived
I
up.
apologize, Your Honor.
That's
All
what I
right,
was asking
and-
if they were saying.
I just called that.
Mr. Watford,
Okay.
do you want to make a statement? Do you want to say anything? You just want to be here present?
Nothing. No, sir.
Okay. All right.
Well, I do have one thing. His teachers are here too.
Okay. All right.
From Bay High School. So
All right.
we are here to support him as well.
All right. If y'all want to state your name.
I'm Debbie King. I'm his school counselor from Bay High School.
Okay.
Katie Vine, I'm the graduation coach at Bay High.
Okay. All right. State want to be heard.
The state would ask for a voluntary bond in this case, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Griffith, anything from Mr. Watford?
Yes, sir, Judge. We'd ask for a reasonable bond in this case. I understand that he was being evaluated in juvenile court. They were trying to find out if he was going to be competent to proceed in juvenile court, and he got waived up to adult court. The facts, I haven't read any of the written complaints or anything like that, but I was sort of advised on the facts. I think he is accused of taking photographs of some guns, pouring some liquid on the floor, and he made the threat to his twin sister that was, if I don't get my stuff back, I'll kill you, or words to that effect. And I don't know if you have those documents to review in front of you. I'm not questioning probable cause, Judge, just to give you a feel of the facts. And we just ask you to set a reasonable bond, keeping all that in mind.
They're pretty serious allegations. It looked like he poured a flammable liquid and had a lighter on him, and there were some pictures of gum, but it looks like somebody found a a gun.
Yeah, I'm not questioning probable cause, Judge, but, and I don't know if it was a flammable liquid or not.
It appears it was rubbing alcohol, according to the probable cause affidavit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set a $7,500 bond on the lawful possession of a firearm. No, hold on. No. I'm going to set a $1,500 bond on that. A $7,500 bond on the attempted arson. $7,500 on the written threats. That's a total of $16,500. You'll be able to contact family and friends in order to make your bond. Your next court date, sir, is May 15th at 9 o'clock. And then his attorney may have him examined prior to come to that court, at least have an order to that effect. Okay. All right. That'll conclude your hearing, sir.
All right.
Just step over there for us.
Yep. So Nancy, it looked like he had a gun. Supposedly he poured some rubbing alcohol on something, showed a picture of a gun, threatened to hurt a family member. He pretty much did everything he could to get in trouble. I think he wrote down a list of everything dumb to do and just went down the list doing it. And so hopefully he'll get it figured out. He seems to have school support. I've never heard of the school showing up for somebody, so hopefully they'll help him out there. All right, we got a few other ones from Bay County that were pretty interesting today.
Your Honor, if you'd just give us a moment to have him exit.
Yes, ma'am. Just whenever y'all get ready.
Yes, sir. All right, step on that red X. If you would, please state your name for the judge.
David Frank Gerganis Jr.
Mr. Gerganis, excuse me, you're before the court today for your first appearance. Mr. Turner, present for you here today. You've been charged with one count of contempt of a court violation of an injunction protection against domestic violence. I reviewed the probable cause affidavit. I'll find there's probable cause for your arrest. Sir, where do you live?
7031 Camp Flowers Road.
How long have you lived in Bay County?
All my life.
Are you working?
48 years.
Where do you work at, sir? Or are you working?
Right now I'm not, but I was working at Creighton Chemical.
Okay, all right. And what's the prior record on Mr. Gerganis?
He has the record that goes back to 2006, most recent, 10 of 24, contempt for the injunction, 23, domestic aggravated stalking, another contempt, 22, domestic battery, cruelty towards child, similar history all the way back to 2006, Your Honor.
All right, is he on a release now?
Yes, Your Honor. He's
Okay.
on same count, same allegation, a Snapchat friend request.
All right, Mr. Turner, you have anything you'd like to add today?
Judge, you hear his ties to the community. This affidavit is kind of standing on the last affidavit saying that the phone number was verified through Snapchat as being attached to that account. But if you review the affidavit in 24, which I have a copy if you want, it says that there was no name attached to it with the information that came back from Snapchat. So they're trying to allege that a phone number that he had over time is the phone number he has now without any evidence that that's the phone number that he has now, because that phone was actually shut off in April of 2024. And I turned that over to the state in the other case. They were reviewing that. And Judge, this also coincides at the same time, just a few days after a contempt motion was filed by Ms. Gerganis in the custody case, claiming that he was not contacting or letting the child contact him in line with the order in that case that allowed a once per week contact despite the domestic violence injunction. So it's a pretty complicated situation, Judge, with a lot of moving parts. I just ask that if you revoke his bond, you set him a new one and please don't hold him without.
All right, state's response.
Your Honor, the state would just like to draw attention to his substantial record of the matter.
What I'll do is I won't revoke his bond based on the allegations, but I will set a $5,000 bond on this case. This next court date's April 23rd at 8:30. And I guess the court that has jurisdictions, certainly, that's without prejudice. They could entertain a motion to revoke the bond. His next court date on this case is April 23rd at 8:30. Mr. Gaines, you'd have absolutely no contact with the alleged victim in the case. And I would suggest you stay in touch with Mr. Turner if court dates change. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a good day.
Sir.
Thanks, sir.
All right, step over to the T.
Defender to represent you. You've been charged with one count of driving under the influence. That's a traffic misdemeanor. If it's your first offense, it's punishable with 6 months in the county jail and a $500 fine. You've indicated you do not have an address. How long have you been in Bay County?
Since middle school or elementary,
Are you work?
I am.
Where do you work?
My mom owns a company called Lexman Cleaning. I work with her.
All right. Is there a file record on Ms. Walston?
24 battery on a firefighter officer EMT.
Okay. Is she on probation or anything for that? Or is that case pending or do we know?
I don't have anything on it. It was from 3/17 of 24. Are you on probation for that right now? She states she is.
All right. I reviewed the Florida DUI uniform traffic citation. I'm gonna find there's probable cause for your arrest. I'm gonna set a $1,500 bond on that. You'll submit the random UAs and breathalyzers as directed by the court. You shall not possess or consume any alcoholic beverages. And do we have a case number on the violation of probation, on the probation case? The random breathalyzers and your analysis as directed by the court. You shall not possess or consume any alcoholic beverages while on release. Your next court date's April 23rd at 8:30. Good luck.
Okay, step over to the T over there. When it turns green, you'll sign. Say your name for the judge, please.
Angela Childers.
Ms. Childers, you're before the court today for your first appearance. We're going to appoint the Office of Public Defender to represent you. You've been charged with one count of driving under the influence. That's a traffic misdemeanor. If it's your first offense, it's punishable with 6 months in the county jail and a $500 fine. And you've also been charged with one count of refusal to submit to a breathalyzer after prior conviction of refusal to submit. That's a traffic misdemeanor punishable with 1 year in the county jail and a $1,000 fine. I reviewed the Florida uniform traffic citation as well as the Florida DUI uniform traffic citation. I find there's probable cause for your arrest. Ms. Childers, where do you live?
5135 Lance Street, Parker.
How long have you lived in Bay County?
Yes, sir.
How long have you lived in Bay County?
Oh, probably been back 10 years.
Okay, are you working?
No, sir, I'm retired.
All right, and what did you do prior to retiring?
Military.
Okay, is there a prior record on Ms. Childers?
She has a history that goes back to 2004, the most recent resisting without disorderly intox.
What year was that?
21, I apologize.
Okay. All right. I'll recommend you to the pretrial release program. That'll get you out of jail when able to put up a bond. There's some standard conditions you'll have to abide by. The special conditions, you'll submit the random UAs and breathalyzers as directed by the court or the pretrial release program. You shall not possess or consume any alcoholic beverages while on release. Your next court date's April 23rd at 8:30. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, go ahead and step over to the T. When it turns green, you'll sign.
When that light turns green, that wave's square.
Red X, state your name for the judge, please.
All right, Ms. Long, you're before the court today for your first appearance.
I did not know I was evicted. I was on my way to.
Okay.
I want to talk about the facts of your case.
Sorry.
Ms. Long, you're before the court today for your first appearance. You've been charged with one count of trespassing. That's the first degree misdemeanor, punished with 1 year in the county jail and a $1,000 fine. I reviewed the probable cause affidavit. Let me continue reviewing it. I believe I can't tell you. One of the judges has already found probable cause for your arrest.
I was there for 5 minutes. I didn't know I was trespassing. As soon as I found out I lost.
I'm not sure I'm not sure how much probable cause is here, but Miss, what's the record on Ms. Long?
25 DUI, 22 Wisconsin disorderly conduct or resisting without.
I'm gonna recommend her to the pretrial release program. That'll get her out of jail. We'll have her to put up a bond. Your next court date's April 23rd at 8:30.
All right, go ahead and step over to the T. Yes, ma'am. Step over to the T. Sign when it turns green. State your name for the judge, please. Right there.
This West, here before the court date for your first appearance, we're going to appoint the Office of Public Defender to represent you. You in charge of one count of trespassing in an occupied structure or conveyance. That's a first-degree misdemeanor, punishment 1 year in the county jail and $1,000 fine. I reviewed the probable cause affidavit. I find there's probable cause for your arrest. Ms. West, where do you live?
That place where I was at,
Where do you live?
that's where I live.
How long have you lived there?
Since December 23rd.
All right. Is there a prior record on Ms. West?
In 25, trespassing ×2. In Florida, in 24, violating a domestic violence injunction. 23, domestic battery, DUI, DWLSR, and 17, DUI.
How long have you lived in Bay County, Ms. West?
Almost a year.
I'm gonna set $1,000 bond. You're to have no contact with that property until further order of court. Your next court date's April 23rd at 8:30.
And step over to the T for me.
All right, I'm going to jump out of this one and go over to Judge O'Donnell. There was one on here where a guy had a long criminal past, and they brought up some charges on him, and he referenced to the judge that he was only 7 at the time those charges occurred. He has the same name as his dad and gets caught up in that. It's funny how many stories I've got about getting in trouble in Florida. My brother, when he was 18, was arrested for not paying child support for 17 years. He shares the same name as their father, and of course the father wasn't paying child support, and so my brother, at being 18, got a job in our hometown, and of course the police picked him up for not paying child support on himself. So they get that mixed up a little bit. We're gonna go over to Judge O'Donnell in Ohio.
Lyndon.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, we're here in case caption State of Ohio versus Juvenile Jackson, case number 24CR001044. We were last here on February 12th, at which time the defendant entered a written and oral plea of guilty to a lesser included offense of count 1, attempted having weapons while under disability, a felony of the 4th degree, in violation of revised code sections 2923.02 and 2923.13A3. with an accompanying forfeiture specification, and count 3, improper handling firearms in motor vehicle, felony of the 4th degree, in violation of revised code section 2923.16B of the revised code, also with a forfeiture specification. At that time, the case was referred for a pre-sentence report and investigation, drug and alcohol evaluation. Those have been completed, and we are here today for purposes of sentencing. Defendant is present with his counsel, Mr. John Paris.
Mr. Paris.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I've had the opportunity to review the pre-sentence review prepared by the Adult Probation Department, as well as the drug and alcohol evaluation. On a prior day, Mr. Juvenile Jackson entered a plea voluntarily accepting responsibility for his conduct on the night in question, where he was sitting behind a bar with a friend, had alcohol in the car, smell of marijuana. I don't think any marijuana was found. And of course a gun was found in the vehicle. I reviewed his record, started as a juvenile, and no violence in his criminal history. But after speaking to him, he does want to change. He's 26 years old, has 3 children to bring up in this world. His girlfriend, fiance, that he's been living with is in the courtroom, Victoria.
Well, wait a minute.
Yes.
If he wants to change, then why doesn't he change?
I
mean, we were here for this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
This thing happened
August 20th.
last August. He was here February 12th when he pled. 3 weeks later, at the time of his interview, test positive for opiates. 2.5 weeks later, he gets picked up by the Highway Patrol, passed out on 90, OVI with another gun in the car. So if he wants to change, then why doesn't he change? Go ahead.
The addiction is a simple answer, Your Honor. This addiction to the alcohol has overpowered him. I think the recommendation of the court psychologist that interviewed him regarding the drug and alcohol evaluation. I mean, we have a tough decision as a society to do with people with addictions. We can just throw them in jail or prison, let them out. Will they change? I'd like to see him have the opportunity to straighten out his life, and that would be, of course, him making that decision.
Well, didn't he have that opportunity in Cuyahoga in August of 23? Did you go to the McDonald Center?
Yeah.
Did you complete that?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he did the jail treatment program as well in the Lake County Jail.
Okay.
I completed that too.
So why doesn't it work? If he gets a treatment, he completes it, why doesn't it work?
As they say in AA, Your Honor, it's people, places, things, and again, he's been placing himself, surrounding himself with these individuals.
Isn't that the key, that he's surrounding himself with the individuals? Why doesn't he stop surrounding himself with the individuals?
You got an answer for the court?
That's a good question.
Needs an answer.
Why do I surround myself around these people?
Well, if that's the problem, then why don't you change the behavior?
You do with those kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the answer is rather obvious, is you kind of like doing what you're doing, so you keep doing it.
I feel like it's really the alcohol.
What?
I feel like it's really the alcohol that does it.
Okay.
Like I basically cope with, like if I have something going on or I'm in my feelings about something or I done lost somebody or something like that, that's my go-to.
Okay, but a program here or a program there ain't going to change it if you don't want to change it. I mean, it can change it if you want to change it. I mean, if you want to look to somebody who was a lot worse off than you and change it, then do a little search of the name of Brittany Gruss, and you can find out the extreme example of somebody that was a lot worse off than you that completely changed it and is thriving. So this, I throw my arms up and say I'm addicted and there's nothing I can do about it and I'm going to relapse is bullshit. Because people do change their behavior. But they only change their behavior if they determine they're going to change their behavior. We ain't splitting the atom here. This ain't complicated. But I interrupted you, Mr. Paris.
Your Honor, no problem. I understand how the court will look at this. And this young man here really has to make that decision on his own that he really wants to change. And again, it's the people he hangs around, how he copes with. We all have issues. We all have people dying with our family members, stresses of life, but we can't. And he knows that he's 26 and he has 3 children to support. And he's got some support. Nice young lady and family members here, cousins in the courtroom that don't want to see him go to prison. I'm sure they all have concerns. He could end up overdosing on drugs or worse.
What's the story with that Perk 30 that you had?
The Perk 30 that I had?
Yeah.
Last year,
Yeah.
2023.
Why did you have that? What is it? Where'd you get it?
The
What's
streets.
it for?
The streets I was using.
I know. What were you using?
Perks.
Perks. Fentanyl?
I'm assuming.
Huh?
I never really got tested for them.
Well, it doesn't take but a minute to figure out that those things are all stamped that way and that there's all fentanyl in them.
Your Honor, one thing he brought up to me is that I think he first goes to the alcohol. He's willing to have a scram device put on him. So
For how long? For the rest of his life?
well, there you have it.
I mean, scram is nothing but an electronic babysitter.
He's never had anyone with their foot on his neck.
What in the bullshit,
Parents,
man? Come on.
9th grade.
Wait a
middle
minute.
school.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Other than a couple, oh, he's had the courts on his neck.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been on his ass for how many times? 3 times you've been here?
Yeah, this,
Like 3.
And you've been put on probation each time.
And then
And then after a couple of times, I finish it. So I have no effect on you. I have no influence over what you do or how you live. No matter what you think, I have no influence on you. And he can talk till he's blue in the face. He has no influence on you.
I know.
There's 7 people back there that have no influence on you. Who I assume they're here because they want to see you do well. But nobody has any control over this except you. Yeah, it just doesn't seem to me like you figure you're 26, you got a lot of years of partying left, and that's what you want to do.
Your Honor, if I may read, his mother's not here, right?
No.
She did provide me a letter, if I may read it
Go ahead.
to the record. My name's Lakita Jackson, Jameli Jackson's mother. I'd like to address the court in regards to Jameli's gun charge. I understand the seriousness of properly handling a firearm, not only for myself, but for the safety of others. Unfortunately, some of life's situations have reflected Jameli in a way to make him feel it's necessary to carry for his protection. Growing up in Cleveland, Jameli has sadly lost a lot of friends and family to gun violence. This has impacted Jameli tremendously. Today, I would like to ask the court to please take today's society and the fear that we all have with day-to-day life into consideration when placing sentence on Jameli. I thank you for your time. Respectfully, Lakita Jackson. And although, let's see, Victoria Hill is here, she provided a letter too. Do you want to make a statement or you want me to read it? I'll read it for you. Okay. Dear Judge O'Donnell, my name is Victoria Hill. I'm writing to the court today about Jameli. We have a 5-year-old daughter together. I understand that there are consequences for his actions. Aside from this situation, Jameli's a good father. He's also a great help to me when it comes to our daughter. I'm asking that the court consider a sentence that will allow him to still be able to help out and be present in her life while being held accountable for his actions. Thank you for your time and consideration. Respectfully, Victoria Hill. You know, again, it shows
you ain't been very helpful in the last 24 days, have you?
In the last 20, no.
No, you've been in jail 24 days on this. Go ahead.
That was the end of her letter. She's in the courtroom as well as some family members. I mean, he's got some love. It's going to take more than love, though. I mean, it's going to take Mr. Jackson here.
But there could be nobody in the courtroom. And it wouldn't make any difference as far as his actions are concerned, because he doesn't care that there's 8 people here. 7 people here, okay? Because if he cared about that, then he wouldn't be here. He'd be all with them. He'd be all with her supporting the 5-year-old. Now, This happened when, August? August of 24. How many times you been to the bog side before that?
Before? Like, at least a handful of times.
Okay. You were probably there at some point, not when it happened, but there was a shooting there probably about 2 or 3 years ago. You familiar with that?
No.
No?
I probably was in prison.
Okay. I mean, that place, going back a few years up until the last year or so, had a reputation as a shithole. Nothing but trouble. Finally, there was a crackdown on that place, but it's not so much a shithole anymore. It's like a regular bar now. But it all moved up to Euclid Avenue and created other shitholes where trouble was going on. Okay. And so when you're sitting in the back in that car with your buddy backed up at the end of the property when the place is closed and the cops patrol by and see a car, what do you think they're going to do? Just ignore it? At the site of the shithole? Okay, so don't pretend that they rolled up on you because you're black and they wanted to bust your balls. Don't pretend that, okay? Because that place deserves all the attention it gets. Okay? So the more concerning thing is why you're out doing the same stuff after you get this case. Why are you doing that?
Well, I got caught with a gun again.
Well, why you out behind the wheel, passed out on 90, inviting the next cop to stop at 3 in the morning or so, inviting the next cop to roll up on you? Why are you doing? I assume the 5-year-old was at home at 3 in the morning. Okay. What? I guess the question is, how many kids do you have?
3.
3. How old are the other 2?
3 and 5 months.
Okay. Why are you so selfish? Because that's what you are. You want to go out and have a good time and just kind of shrug off your responsibilities. Why do you do that?
I don't know. I say, I don't know. I just don't accept love easily. Like, I don't really know what to say to that. Like,
why not?
I grew up in a messed up way, around a lot of messed up things, or messed up situations.
Okay.
That's the only reason why.
Does that include your mother?
No.
Okay.
My environment.
Well, so okay, so that happened. What can you do to change that past? Can't do nothing to change the past. Okay? Now, 5, did you say 5, 3, and 5 months?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what are you going to do to change their future? What are you going to do to provide them a future that you think you were deprived of when you were growing up?
I got to fix me before I can even think about doing that.
Okay, well, when's that going to happen? Because time's a ticking. Next year, your daughter's probably going to be in school.
What, my second one?
No, your first one.
She already in school.
Okay.
Kindergarten.
What is she in, kindergarten? Where at? Okay. Have you been to that school while she's been in kindergarten?
I take her to school Wednesday through Friday.
Okay. Not the last few Wednesdays, Friday, right? Right. You're right about one thing. Until you get your shit together, you can't help them. So when's that going to happen? How long is it going to take you to get it together? How long do you think it's going to take you to get it together?
Not long.
Well, I guess that depends on what you do. I don't see any evidence that you want to change anything based on what happened 24 days ago.
Yeah, I definitely want to change for my kids, but like I said, I have to fix myself. Yeah.
Your Honor, he does realize he has to change himself before he can be a father to his 3 kids.
Wish that I'm already am.
When you got picked up on March 23rd, I assume the night started on March 22nd. What were you doing?
I was drinking.
Where?
I was drinking that whole day.
Why?
I was dealing with a loss. 2 of them.
Who?
2 of my friends.
From what?
Gun violence.
Okay. And so, how did that help you deal with that?
I could have just stayed in the house instead of being out in public like that.
What is the reason that you're always carrying the guns?
My reasons. I mean, it's for protection, but I don't want nothing to happen to me. So even if I do something to somebody trying to do something to me, I know I'm still gonna have to go, but I'm still gonna be alive.
Who's out there actively trying to do something to you? Are there people out there chasing you around?
No.
Got a vendetta against you?
No.
Okay.
But there's a lot of people out there that do messed up things, though.
Yeah, there are.
Like, it's people in fake police cars, pull you over, pull you out your car. Like, that's what's going on in Cleveland. For real. Like, there's a lot going on. Like,
I know there is. Okay.
But I know I put myself in that predicament for being down there and being around the environment, like the people that I know what's going on over here. So I mean, I put myself in them situations. Yes, I do.
Well, my guess is before you got arrested, where were you living?
Huh?
Where were you living?
Willowick.
Huh?
Willowick.
How long you been living there?
Like 6 years, 7 years.
Okay. When you were parked on 90 at MLK, where were you going?
To be honest, I don't know.
Okay. So my guess is, in looking at your past, is that if you weren't playing with the drugs and the drink, you probably wouldn't have got yourself in any trouble. You wouldn't have got this gun charge because you wouldn't have been sitting at the back part of the bog side when it's closed. So you wouldn't have been there for the police to roll up on you. If you weren't drinking, you wouldn't have got picked up on 90 and have another gun charge. So that, my guess is The gun ain't so much a problem as you just like to party. Now, as it stands right now, there ain't enough cops in Cleveland to protect the citizens of Cleveland. As a result, you're kind of on your own in certain places, in all places. Now, where you've been living the last 6 or 7 years, there's enough cops to protect the people that live there. Who else lives with you at that address?
Victoria here.
Huh?
Victoria.
Okay.
Your baby.
And your daughter.
Yes.
And anyone else.
Okay.
Who else?
So if you're worried about protecting yourself in Cleveland, then what are you doing? What are you doing going there?
I actually left Cleveland.
What?
When I came to Lake County, I actually left Cleveland to get away from all of it.
Right. So why do you keep going back there if there's nothing but trouble? You're on the verge of telling me all your friends are there, right? Okay. So you're knowingly, by your own words, putting yourself in danger by going there.
Yes.
So you tell me, what am I supposed to do with you at this point? Since I've already sent you to prison twice, right?
No, you sent me once.
On multiple cases, right? You losing track of these?
No.
March of 19, I put you on probation. After multiple violations in January 21, I sent you to prison.
Years old.
Mm-hmm.
March of 20, I put you on probation, which was a violation of your March of 19 sentencing, but I kept you on probation, and then you violated again by picking up another case in August of 20. So you've been here 3 times.
And then you sent me.
Huh?
I said, and then you sent me, right?
Right. So, if you want to be on probation, what am I supposed to do with you such that you'll get your shit together and stop coming back here? What is it? You must know because you've been sitting in jail for 24 days thinking about it, I assume.
Yeah. I know I definitely need a alcohol monitor bracelet. That's what it's called.
No. I don't get into these bracelet shit, okay? Because
What the court would do is give
because it doesn't it's not this ain't no babysitting service, okay? You're responsible for you.
So I don't need them.
Huh?
So I don't need them.
You don't need what?
I don't need the ankle monitor then.
I ain't gonna put an ankle monitor on you. That ain't gonna cure you.
He's right. It's putting a bandage on the problem. It's gotta be you every day. Or you're gonna be back here, even if he gave you 6 months or a year. We don't wanna see you again. Judge doesn't wanna see you again. Your kids wanna see you.
What was your goal coming here today before I came out here?
My goal?
Mm-hmm.
My goal was to see if I can go home.
To accomplish what?
To start fixing myself.
How?
I just gotta see everything.
Huh?
I just gotta look at everything that I'm doing wrong and go from there.
Okay, you already know what you're doing wrong, right? You've been doing it wrong, so you know what you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
Ms. Linden?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I would just say that I know that I can't begin to understand what he would deal with in Cuyahoga County, but I can say what we don't want in Lake County, and we certainly don't want people using drugs and alcohol with firearms in Lake County. So in terms of looking at that, this is not just an addiction issue, it's a safety issue too. If you have someone who's been drinking or using drugs and they have a firearm, usually bad things happen. And being at the Bogside after hours is obviously not an appropriate thing to do. He then tested positive. He has prior prison. He violated the conditions of his bond. He has prior probation violations. He's had additional contact with the police, and his behaviors seem to be repeating themselves. I don't know if he's in a position to really want to change or not, but in terms of looking at the safety of the community, the state would recommend a prison term with 25 days of credit for time served with the forfeiture of the firearm, magazine, extended magazine, and the ammunition as well.
Your Honor, like the court eloquently stated, we cannot change the past. It will follow him for the rest of his life. All he can control is the future, and it's going to have to be one day at a time. He's got reasons. He's got 3 reasons at least, 3 children he's brought into this world, that he shouldn't see the same thing happen to them that has happened to Juvenile. He had no contact, unfortunately, with his father. And unfortunately, without Juvenile helping his 3 children, they may face the same fate, the same cycle. And I hope, whatever the court does, that Juvenile is there for his 3 kids, because they will need him, or they may ultimately end up with the same fate of Juvenile. Your Honor, his fate is in your hands. I'd ask the court to give him a shot at community control and see if he could change for the betterment of himself and his children.
It's not a new situation. That he's got 3 kids depending on him. He had 3 kids depending on him when he violated his bond here and picked up another charge. That doesn't seem to faze him at all. So, doing something for the sake of doing something so that he's here when his 3 kids are growing up is great if he does something to change his behavior. But his actions indicate he's not going to change his behavior. And he's not giving me any indication today, from what he said, that he's going to change his behavior. His goal is just to go home. And if he goes home, it's just to continue on with the party. Has he been arraigned in Cuyahoga yet?
He's not been indicted yet.
Does he automatically go back to Mooney, or is it a draw? Do you know?
No, it's a draw, unless he's on probation to anyone in Cuyahoga. You on probation? No.
No, it was.
So
he was on probation for a year and it was terminated.
So it will be a draw.
So your problem is that for the last 6 or 7 years you're living in a stable situation with this young lady and your daughter, and then you're going to find trouble other places. And Ms. Linden is right. The firearm in and of itself is not the problem. The firearm in conjunction with your extreme drug and alcohol use, it becomes an extreme danger to you and to others. Because I'm going to assume that you'll admit that when you're using, you're not in a state of mind to control what you're doing, right?
No.
So, I mean, at this point, you're not amenable to community control. So on count one, I'm going to sentence you to 18 months in prison. And on count two, 18 months in prison, and those will be consecutive to one another because they're necessary to protect the public from future crime and to properly punish, and they're not disproportionate to the seriousness of your crimes, because we've been down this road over and over and over. And your history of criminal conduct demonstrates that these are necessary to protect the public from future crime. You get credit for 26 days, and the costs are assessed, and there will be post-release control after you get out for up to 2 years under the parole authority with conditions. Violation of the conditions results in a termination, potentially, and a consecutive sentence in addition to the new charge, a consecutive sentence for the post-release control violation, the maximum of which will be the greater of 12 months, or the time you have left under post-release control. A violation of post-release control by itself could result in a prison sentence to return to prison of up to 9 months by the parole authority. And the items subject to forfeiture are forfeited. The remaining charges are dismissed. Anything else, Ms. Linden?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Paris?
No, Your Honor. All right. You can't appeal that sentence.
All right, that was that one. I kind of agree with Critter. It took a little too dang long to get to that one. 34 minutes to get to that point, and then I'd cut quite a bit of it out. So it's always good. So I'm gonna back up real quick here. So if we look at the prosecutor's desk, that desk is so dang clean. I keep getting it confused with the wall, and it's odd. 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you're watching these videos, and it looks like she's got the smallest desk over there. But we're gonna go to Judge West. West in Beaumont, Texas. Let's go over there to her.
Good morning, sir. You're Denzel Lewis. And Mr. Lewis, you were previously in court, entered a plea of guilty to the third-degree felony offense of unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon. The agreement was for a cap of 6 years in prison. I've received the pre-sentence report. Has everyone had an opportunity to review that report?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Are there any additions or corrections?
Just argument from the defense.
Nothing to say.
In addition, I have received the jail incident reports, which have been turned over to counsel. Have you both had an opportunity to review those?
I have.
Also, I have received this morning and now reviewed, it looks like 4 letters of support that Ms. Holmes brought today. Mr. Smith, have you had an opportunity to review those as well? All right, then Ms. Holmes, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. And looking at the PSI report, Mr. Lewis does have obviously previous criminal history spanning from juvenile and to adulthood. The priors that he has, it appears with burglary of a habitation. It looks like 3 cases, but they ran concurrently, in which he was placed on probation and had a revocation, in which he was sentenced to 8 years in TDC. He has since been discharged from that, Your Honor. And after being released, there was this traffic stop, which resulted in a firearm being found in the vehicle in which Mr. Lewis was driving. Obviously, in reading his response to the PSI officer, I would allow him to elaborate more on that. Obviously, he did plead guilty to the offense, taking responsibility, and we are seeking probation in this case, Your Honor. We believe that at this point in Mr. Lewis's life, he understands, obviously, being incarcerated before, that it's not somewhere that he wants to go back and spend potentially 6 additional years of his life. He would like this opportunity on probation to have that opportunity to spend and get back on track with employment, to take care of his family and provide for his family. And reading those support letters, Your Honor, he does have support here from family and friends in the community that are willing to step up and help him to make sure that he is a productive citizen and he gets back on track. He understands that there's just certain things with being a convicted felon that he cannot do. And I think at this point he understands that, Your Honor, and we are asking that the court give him the opportunity to be placed on probation and to finish his term while on probation.
Well, I guess before we go any further, I want to make sure I understand, because Mr. Lewis, your version of this is that it wasn't your gun, it was in your girlfriend's purse, and you didn't even know her purse was in the car, much less the gun was in the purse in the car. So either you are guilty or you're not guilty of the offense. And so if you knew about it, then you're guilty. If you didn't, then a jury needs to decide.
I'm pleading guilty because I was driving the car, and by me driving and then finding the gun,
But the law, that's not what the law is. Okay? So you don't get to just take a deal or plead guilty because that's what you want to do. When you were here before, you stood in front of that clerk, you put your hand up, swore that you were going to tell the truth, and I said, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily, or are you pleading guilty because you did what they charged you with?
I was, and I still am.
Okay. All right, Mr. Smith?
Judge, I think he's been given probation before. It was not successful. He's been revoked. The actions in the jail clearly show he doesn't have any respect for authority or rules. I don't feel like he's a proper candidate for probation, so we're asking for a 6-year sentence in TDC.
So, Mr. Lewis, one thing I noticed in several of these letters that friends and family members said, I think 3 of them actually used the word respectful, that you're a respectful young man. What has been going on in our jail is the furthest thing from respectful that I've seen. The number of times, and the fact that I have to say this out loud, the number of times that you choose to masturbate in front of the officers on purpose is ridiculous.
I speak on the
Sure.
That case wasn't on me. Somebody else had a case, and the woman even talked to the lieutenant to get it removed off of my file, but it still shows up. That was not on me. It's somebody.
It's more than one time.
But
So hold on. So on April 14th, let's just go through them. On April 14th, you were in trouble for not being in your bunk, that you had been given several orders to go to your bunk. You proceeded to walk around yelling, "Bitch, stop talking to me." So that's from April 14th, last week. Then on April 7th, it alleges that you had your hands in your pants, moving in and back and forth, that you were told to take your hands out of your pants, and that you had been told before, or this officer had been briefed on the fact that you were known for doing this. Your response, according to this, is that that person should have asked the officers how big your penis, anyway. Since they want to be talking about you, they should have told them about that too. Then, on March 25th, before that, a week, another officer, and these aren't the same officers. It's not the same person saying the same thing about you. Somebody has some vendetta against you. So on March 25th, Started to do rounds. Notice that you were watching the person doing rounds. Had his hand over his midsection as if he was rubbing on himself. March 18th, another different officer. Notice monitoring the bunk. There you are, laying on your back, stroking your penis in a back and forth motion, told not to do so. January 24th, 2025, you're in trouble for walking around. This one, notice the way you're laying on your bunk in a way, making motions under the blanket, walked past, turned around to see if you were still doing it. Then you supposedly look at this officer and say, I'm not doing anything, while you lifted the blanket up for that officer to see it. January 4th, another time, being told to be quiet, do what you're supposed to do, didn't do it that date. December 29th, another issue of not following the rules. December 17th, another infraction for arguing and not following the rules. So if there was one time when they got the wrong person, that's one thing. That's over and over again, you disrespecting female officers who are in there just doing their job.
I don't sleep on my bed.
Sir, we're really going to do that?
You ask me and I'm telling you, I sleep on my bed. I have sisters. I have a mama. I don't do that. Them people... Like whatever
they're making this up on you. That's terrible of them to do that.
If you look at my cases report, ma'am, I don't have any cases on none of that. I don't have any time. I'm not on no restriction on none of that.
Okay.
Up in the county.
You were off parole, the way I do the math, less than a year. So you did your whole 8 years?
No.
What'd you do in prison to have to do your whole 8 years?
I was in SID.
For doing what?
Just tattooing. Contraband.
Not following the rules while you're in prison. I'm going to find that you previously entered your plea of guilty freely and voluntarily. Find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon. Sentence you to a term of 6 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Corrections. You will receive credit on that sentence for any time that you've been in custody that the law gives you the right to receive. I'm handing you the trial court certification that shows this was an agreement that I followed, and so you've waived your right to appeal, and you're lucky that this was the agreement. Mr. Smith was generous. The fact is, you could have been enhanced to a second-degree felony because of your history, and you're lucky you weren't. I have also handed you a written admonishment regarding your ineligibility to possess a firearm or ammunition. Obviously, you know this, but I'm required to read this to you. Because of the judgment entered against you, you're ineligible under Texas law to possess a firearm or ammunition. Possession of a firearm or ammunition could lead to charges against you. Firearm is a legal term, and you should read the written admonishment I provide you to see what devices qualify as a firearm. If you have questions about the laws that make you ineligible to possess a firearm or ammunition, or about how long it lasts, you can talk to Ms. Holmes. You can go with the bailiff.
All right, so y'all see what the challenges the female correction officers dealt with. I thought it was just violence they dealt with, but I don't know. That seems like a rough part of the job. All right, that's going to be it for us tonight. We made it through another night. That's a good thing, I guess. Tomorrow morning, Judge Fleischer, hopefully they're going to have a trial. I think the last few times it's never made it to trial, but we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Eastern time, or wherever you live, do the math. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yes.
Please.